It's 30th. Finally, you're back with me. This is your boy Doug, 60s Gang. Remember to hit my like button and, of course, subscribe. Hit the notification bell for all. It is the 30th, right? It's Friday, August 30th, Memorial Day weekend. Good morning to those who woke up today, and my condolences who did not wake up today. Happy birthday to those born August 30th. This is your boy Doug, and I just now left for home. I'm in Gainesville, Georgia, looking at a stove. And my God, some people. First thing I saw was boxes, cardboard boxes in an electric stove, in the oven and in the bottom section of the oven. Cardboard.
Thank you for calling. Check out empty phone.
It had absolutely
Please hold
no
while I
power.
try to connect you.
Once I began to diagnose the unit, the rope just absolutely just came out of nowhere. So I normally don't work on. It's a policy not to work on bug infested units, so I don't think I'll be seeing them anytime soon. Because you can't guarantee a repair on a unit that has bug infestation. So this is Gainesville, Georgia. Okay, I'm going crazy with the bricks. There's some cats out here. Cats and dogs. Look at another cat. They getting up too. Loganville. Gainesville is a nice area. They got a lot of ocean, lake view front property. I don't think they have a emissions law here.
You have a message.
But it's a nice little town. A lot of retirement areas. A lot of lakefront property. Nice place to live if you want to retire. Medical facilities, the nine. They got the whole nine. Gainesville's also known for poultry. A lot of poultry plants out here. A lot of chicken processing plants. They financed the car and the RV. Yeah. A lot of that. So I guess you guys heard the second coming of Jesus Christ last night. Mrs. Kamala Harris, she finally gave us the privilege of hearing her, and I mean, what a word salad. She didn't say absolutely nothing worth saying, in my opinion. And it just seems like she's doing just enough to get your votes. And that race question was asked yesterday. And they asked her, did she want to go ahead and settle it? Did we like to address it? And she said, next question. So black folks, you can tell by her saying next questions, she's using you guys just for her vote, just for the vote. I can't wait to see the debate, because she was having trouble speaking in a recorded setting where she was being helped along with Dana of ABC. I forgot her last name. I mean, she asked her a question and gave her multiple answers. I mean, she could have picked anything. She gave her multiple answers to a question. If you notice, when she asked a question, she gave her a way out. And she still fucked it up. And everybody's starting to see that she's not authentic. She's not real. Most black people are real. She's not black. She wouldn't even say that she was black or Indian. She just said next question. And that just killed her votes right there. Those who are woke and awake and can tell what was voting for Kamala, as they were dead set on thinking she was black. When she said next question and refused to answer the question of what race she is, to put it all to bed by her saying next question, I'm quite sure a whole lot of black people got off that Kamala Harris boat last night. And she didn't specifically say what her policies are. She danced around the answers. She kept floating off into Donald Trump. Nobody want to hear about Donald Trump. That was years ago. We want to talk about what you plan to do when you, if and when you take office day one. She wouldn't address none of that. She danced around issues that's already taking place and stuff she can do right now. And sat there and lied. I know you guys saw the lie. I mean, the fracking question was brought up. She said no to fracking, at the same time slipped up and said she's sticking by her policies from 2019. So she gave you a double answer. She said yes and no on fracking. If you guys weren't paying attention, the way she talked, she's a slick talker. She said no to fracking, but all of a sudden, if you were listening, she was saying yes to fracking. At the same time, she was saying no. You guys got to catch them, man. You got to listen to her real close. Listen to the words coming out of her mouth, not how she's expressing it. She said Donald Trump went into Congress and single-handedly persuaded them not to pass some type of bill to reform the border, but then Dana of ABC failed to ask that simple question. She said Donald Trump then went in there and told Congress not to pass the bill because it won't make him look good. But Dana failed to ask her who told her that. She got away with lying about Donald Trump. And when she should have asked her, who told you that? You got a name for her. She should have asked for a name. Somebody had to tell her that. And if nobody told her that, she lied. When it was time to nail her or something, she let her out where she just blatantly just lied. What she thinking, what she was told, but she wouldn't tell you who told her what Donald Trump was doing. She would all just blame Donald Trump just erroneously about anything. If you can't tell us who told you that, then it's not to be believed. She sat there, freaking lied. Yeah. Let me give y'all some more of Gainesville. Excuse me. Got a whole lot going on out here.
Sure. Anyway, second hour of Fox and Friends starts right now. We've been waiting for it in her first official interview since becoming the Democrat presidential nominee. Kamala Harris promising a new way forward despite her role as vice president for the last 3.5 years.
And Harris is facing some criticism over having running mate Tim Walz by her side. But her campaign insists she will do a solo interview.
So the vice president defending her policy flip-flops on issues like the climate and the border while struggling to lay out her day one agenda.
First and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
Which means nothing.
When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020. That I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis. The most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My value. So
that is a lie.
That is the reality of it.
Checked into that. She didn't do nothing but lock up.
I mean, this is the question politician gets.
Sure.
What are you going to do on day one? And I mean, I'm not just talking about the presidency. They have Senate candidates, congressional. What do you do on day one?
Right.
What she gave us was a dream.
Right.
Like, as if she had control of Congress. They had a bill ready for her on day one. Not what she plans on doing from a ceremonial standpoint, those bills that they're going to sign once she's sworn in. And it just shows you when it comes to preparation, she's not prepared for even what she's going to do on day one. How can we trust a 4-year administration?
Yeah, Donald Trump was asked that question, and he had very clear answers of the executive orders that he would sign
Said it many
if he
times.
did that. And she also did not do a good job when Dana Bash went back and asked her and said, well, a lot of people will say, why haven't you done this already? You are the vice president. She didn't have a lot to say there. She also flip-flopped, you guys, on a very important topic and for a very important state called Pennsylvania. So here she is talking about fracking.
what she said, these are some of the things that we would refer to as flip-flops, but last night she referred to them as, you know what? I still have the same values. For instance, in 2019, and we played a moment ago, that soundbite when she was running in the primary, she endorsed a nationwide ban on oil and gas fracking. We know that. Now the campaign has come out and said she does not support a total ban on fracking. And then when it comes to the border, in 2019, when asked which candidates believe crossing the border without documentation should be a civil offense, Kamala Harris raised her hand. However, today, Kamala Harris's campaign, now that she's running for president, says quite simply, unauthorized border crossings are illegal. Essentially, with those two topics right there, I think we saw a preview of the presidential debate when it comes to fracking and when it comes to the border, because she was unequivocal last night. She said, as president, I will not ban fracking. And she talked a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act, which she broke the tie in the Senate, actually expanded fracking leases. And then when it comes to the topic of the border, we've heard this a million times. She talked about how she, as president, would sign the bipartisan border bill once it got through the House and the Senate. And she told the story about how the former president saw that it would probably help Joe Biden and said, hey, guys, on the Republican side, let's not pass that.
Well,
yeah, but if you dig into that bill, that bill is really about more money going to NGOs to make the processing of more illegals over the border quicker, so the press isn't seeing everything that's happening.
And the cap with the crossing is a fake cap. It's still catch and release as well. But back to the fracking thing, she doesn't explain the change of position. So, Madam Vice President, you cast that vote. Why did you do that? Is it just because you were vice president and you were carrying out what the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, says? But Madam President, Vice President, you're going to be in the chair, or at least you hope to be in the chair. So do you go back to your original position in 2019? That follow-up is critical because it's a difference when you're the vice president and you have to work, or a cabinet member, and you work within the system. Your job is to serve at the pleasure of the president. And it looks like that her positions, her gut instinct is to be much more progressive.
Yeah, no question. Well, you had Lara Trump on earlier in the show, and you got her reaction, so here that is.
It feels like Kamala Harris is running for junior class president versus president of the United States. You got no specifics whatsoever. And there was not a moment that I watched that interview and I, as an American citizen, felt confident that this is a person who understands the job of president of the United States, has a true plan of action to do anything for America, could negotiate with the world leaders on behalf of me as a citizen and this country. And I think it's kind of what we've come to expect from Kamala Harris.
Junior class president. Maybe that's why she was talking to the band class the other day at the high school.
Talking down to him, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think
they were kindergartners.
You got to figure they went to a school because he was a teacher and he was a coach and all that stuff. I will say this about Tim Walz. He's really good at smiling and nodding. Because we thought, if she got into a word salad problem, he would jump in.
Well,
as it turns out, last night, he was only when Kamala Harris was asked that, and Lawrence, I think you referred to it as a layup question. What are you going to do on day one? Dana Bash asked that question. We've asked that question. She asked it. Kamala Harris did not answer it, and so Dana asked her again. You didn't answer my question. What would you say? Listen, you only got like 20 minutes. You're not going to waste a lot of time. So she turned to Tim Walz and asked him, what are you going to do on the first day?
She should have stayed.
He didn't really answer.
She should have stayed with Kamala. Yeah. And you know what you see here too, you guys have seen those hearings in Congress where the witness just needs to fill up the time for the 5 minutes.
It's just monologue.
That's what I felt like was happening. She was talking slowly. She was using as many words as possible. But it was intentional to fill up the time because she knew this was only going to be a 20-some minute interview.
And also to that point, Rachel, Walz, the governor, he couldn't save himself. I mean, there was a moment there where he had to explain while he went out publicly and talked about his military service and the IVF and all that, and to just say it's grammatical errors.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I mean,
he was able to work in the fact that his wife's an English teacher.
That's what I didn't find it cute. I really did not. It was you had how many days to come up with an explanation to why you lied to the American people and you let down a lot of troops. People will accept an apology, but he didn't provide that.
No.
Well, the campaign they were very risk averse. And what Dana Bash asked the questions we wanted answers to, but they just gave as innocuous an answer as they possibly could. But as I said earlier, I think it is, if I'm the Trump campaign, I just got a little view of how they're going to answer fracking and how they are going to answer the border. And we're going to talk to Senator J.D. Vance, who's running for vice president. Let's see, about 49 minutes from right now, right here on the Fox News channel.
He also got a preview of what it's going to be like going up against Tim Walz in that debate. So that's going to be
absolutely.
That's a good point. All right, meanwhile, Harris says she has no regrets about covering up Biden's fitness for office.
Her defiance comes as the New York Times reveals shocking new details on how President Biden's own Senate allies helped push him out of the race.
Rich Edson is in a rainy Rehoboth Beach, Delaware today. And Rich, who knew Jack Reed, the Senator Jack Reed, played such a pivotal role in squeezing out the president?
Yeah, not really an outspoken senator, not known for that, but he led off this meeting that eventually ended up with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pressing President Biden to get out of the race. Amazing report from the New York Times. But first, back to that interview last night, as you mentioned, no major policy departures from the current administration, no regrets from Vice President Kamala Harris on sticking by President Biden when these calls were growing to get Biden out of the race.
Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room.
Not answering the question.
He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Harris said generally it's time to turn the page on the last decade. She said when Biden called her to tell her that he was stepping aside, she responded, "Are you sure?" This interview follows new reporting in the New York Times that pressure from Senate Democrats was a more pivotal factor in getting Biden to drop out than previously known. You mentioned it, Steve. Senator Jack Reed reportedly said to stay in the race, Biden would need an independent neurological exam with public results. The Times details a closed-door meeting July 11th among Senate Democrats that convinced the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to press Biden to leave the race. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman reportedly tried to rally Democrats to support Biden at the meeting. He asked senators for a show of hands of those sticking with the president. Only 2 went up, Senators Chris Coons and Tammy Duckworth. The Trump campaign has responded to that Harris interview, said in 16 minutes she didn't mention America's crime crisis, also says that over several minutes she barely addressed the border and economy. Back to you.
So, Rich, the extraordinary thing about this Senate meeting that you talked about, where Jack Reed said, okay, and Joe Biden wasn't there, it was his top advisors, and he said, listen, we'll get behind Joe, but he's got to have this cognitive test with like essentially a live press conference and have these people answer our questions. And they obviously decided, we don't want that to happen because they never told Joe Biden. The advice.
I live on my own, have my own car, make about $70,000 a year, and don't have any kids. So I'll never ask for what I can't offer. And as far as what I'm bringing to the table, I bring me, and you can't sit with it.
First off, studies don't reveal any bullshit about black women being the most educated and the most paid. The average black woman in America makes about $40K, and black women hold the least amount of PhDs, which is actually the metric that determines the most educated. Now, if she said black women...
That continues to get worse. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm hoping to get to it at some point in the show today. Fani Willis, is this the greatest gift to the MAGA movement since like the elephant or something? Or the Republican Party in general? What the hell was that yesterday? What was... Listen, I'm sorry. Our viewership was down a little bit despite yesterday's show being a banger. And let me tell you something. I get it. I'm with you. Totally get it. I was watching that yesterday for 2 to 3 hours, riveted, glued to the TV like freaking Gorilla Glue, like, I can't get away. What the hell is going on here? I got that. A ton of stuff to talk about today. Let me get right to it. Today's show brought to you by our friends at 120 Life. Do you know in studies that show that high blood pressure is the number one risk factor for mortality and 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure? There's a 50-50 chance you're a walking time bomb. But you, not Big Pharma, can take control of your blood pressure with the help of 120 Life. I found this company because I recently found out I had a little bit of an elevated blood pressure issue, which kind of got me a little upset because I hadn't had that before. 120 Life is a blend of great tasting superfruit juices and is formulated with ingredients that have been shown to naturally help control high blood pressure and are endorsed by thousands of health professionals. Try it yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com, that's 120life.com, and use the code Dan to save 15% and receive free shipping. They're so sure that 120 Life can noticeably lower your blood pressure, help me out a lot, in 2 weeks that they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied. You have nothing to lose except those high blood pressure numbers. Go to 120life.com, 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use promo code Dan to save 15%. Serious. High blood pressure is a silent killer. It's your life we're talking about. 120 Life can help. These statements have not been approved by the FDA. The product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Thanks, 120 Life. We appreciate it. Joseph, it's Friday, my friends. Let's go.
It's Friday.
Joe's very excited about this Friday. Something going on? You got a banger of a party to go to or something like that? Joe seems so excited. Head fakes all around, folks, too. Head fakes all around. I'm going to get to that first. Let me address yesterday. I am so sorry. Listen, folks, when you fuck something up, you just fuck it up. I don't know what to tell you. I had something on my mind and extended the timeline of Gina Haspel at the CIA for some reason into the Biden administration. That's not an excuse. Excuses are like a-holes, right? Everybody's got them, so forget it. You just own your mistakes and move on. But I want to at least explain to you, not an excuse, what happened, because it doesn't change the story at all. But when I explain to you what was going on in my head, and I'm too emotional about this story, I think it'll make sense. So I want to get to that. But just first, this broke yesterday in the New York Times. Ex-FBI informant charged with lying over Biden's role in Ukraine business. Now, folks, this is the biggest freaking head fake I have ever seen. Let me just, I don't have a lot of time to spend on this, so I want to just bullet point this sucker for you right now. The FBI has managed to screw us over again. So here's the gist of the story. There was this FBI form where they take down information for informants, okay? It's something that was referenced. It was in one of my tweets once before. The form had information from this FBI informant basically indicating that Joe Biden may have taken bribes when he was the vice president. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a sliver of the case against Joe Biden. A sliver. I just want to be clear about that right away. The FBI is apparently known, if you're to believe the New York Times report now, that, follow me here, chatsters, rescue me if I'm not explaining this right, that the informant who was telling the FBI Joe Biden took bribes, apparently the FBI knew he was lying for a long time now, according to the report. You should be asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because now, Joe, again, I like to boil things down, there's only 2 excuses here. 2 possible explanations by the FBI. Either the FBI managed to get burned yet again by another source, which, I'm sorry, this is not, but this is like, how many sources are going to burn the FBI? Christopher Steele, Danchenko, now you've got this guy with Smirnov, whatever his name is, on the Biden case. How many guys are going to burn the FBI? So scenario 1, because a lot of the Democrats are celebrating, oh my gosh, look, you Republicans went all in on this FBI informant. Have you ever heard me mention this guy's name before? No, you have not. If he was lying, he was lying. He should go to jail. I don't want anybody to lie about anyone, including Joe Biden. However, scenario 1, what Democrats are celebrating this? Democrats love the FBI now because they're going after Trump. Gee, am I reading this wrong? That this is now the 3rd major case where an FBI informant has burned trained FBI agents? What a victory lap you should all be taking. Or, wait, Joseph, I'm not done here. Here's scenario number 2, and this may be even worse. This is why Democrats, you better be real careful taking a victory lap. Is this a head fake? Folks, I don't trust the FBI at all. We live in a police state right now. I'm going to get to the January 6 videos and stuff, and we got new stuff for you. We live in a police state right now. I don't trust the FBI at all, not even a little bit. There's great men and women working down there in the streets doing bank robberies and stuff. The management of the FBI, I don't trust them one bit, not one single bit. Is there a possibility here that they weren't burned by this guy at all? What do you mean, Dan? That they knew from the beginning this guy was lying and yet let him spin his wheels, knowing Republicans would get a hold of this eventually and build a little sliver of their case around it so they could then turn around later and say, oh, sorry, my bad. Look at you idiots. Look at you guys. Dump the whole impeachment thing. I see that as unlikely. I think the FBI legitimately just got burned again. But if they didn't get burned, then they were setting us up. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a lot of questions. You guys see where I'm going with this? Can you imagine? You notice Christopher Wray, when he was asked about this informant, they fought tooth and nail to not give up his name. Now, was it out of embarrassment of getting burned again? Or is it because they didn't want the Republicans to question this guy or find out anything about this guy themselves so that they could lead them along, go, look, we got an informant. We don't. Sorry, he lied. Look at you idiots, drop impeachment. Folks, I don't buy anything anymore from these people. Anything. Trust no one in government. I want to go back to 2018. I want you to listen to this. This was me on Fox. This is important. I want to go back to what's going on now. Another breaking story last night from Schellenberger, Taibbi. The story's not breaking. I should say that they have a source on it is breaking. Okay, again, forget this credit stuff. It's starting to piss me off. Who gives a shit? Who gets the credit? Please stop. It's just stupid. Our goal is to take the deep state apart, not to sit there and go, who's going to get medals for it, okay? Stop. It's annoying and it's juvenile, and I'm seeing way too much of it online. I don't care if you listen to me or not. I wrote a damn book on it. You don't hear me like clamoring for all this crap. Everybody's like whining about this. Schellenberger Taibbi put out a thing last night about the ICA. The ICA was at 17 intelligence agencies say Russia tried to interfere in the election to help Trump. Now it's been eviscerated a long time ago, Lee Smith did. But they have a source now with information indicating that thing was crap. I'll get to that in a second. But I want you to listen to this. It'll tie into what I was talking about yesterday with Gina Haspel, why I was distracted and overly emotional about this whole thing, and I am, even though yesterday's show was still a banger. You should check it out. But listen to what I said on Fox back in 2018. Check this out.
Adam Schiff is a snake. He's the biggest fraud on Capitol Hill right now. Adam Schiff is doing the Democrats' dirty work in trying to cover up. Here's the problem, Steve. I don't know how to say this any more candidly. The Obama team spied on the Trump team. The liberals have...
Oh, welcome back. You must have been busy. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Save this, but they can't, because remember, guys, there are court transcripts. The Democrats can't run from this. There's no plausible deniability.
Why am I playing this cut from long ago? It's kind of stupid. I can say it all over again. Because, folks, back in 2018, I warned you about something. The Democrats hate this Spygate case and this January 6th bomber case because the Democrats have built their entire brand around what? Tolerance, coexistence, fighting for the little guy. Joe, you're alive a lot longer than me. In the 60s, their whole thing was what? Like fighting the man, right? That was their thing. Like, look at us. We're in this war against the man. That was their thing. The Democrat Party, the liberals. The Democrat Party brand has been built around that. The ACLU, all of that. I need you to understand that when the Spygate truth comes out, like it's coming out now because of this new source that these three journalists got, that their brand is going to be, it's shit now forever. Their entire brand about fighting the deep state and the man has now been entirely reversed. The real renegades and the real misfits are now us, me and you, out there fighting the man, which is the new left. This is not a small thing. And it's one of the reasons the Democrats are panicked so much about this case and the January 6th stuff. Because if this was a setup, the spy operation, which we know was, and January 6th, which I highly suspect it was, I'm almost positive it was, then the Democrats pushing the levers of government to set up the little guy, us, completely screws them over. That's one problem with this. The second casualty for this entire Spygate January 6th story, which again, I'm going to get to in a second. I'm going to pile through a lot of material today. It's going to be an important show. Share it, please, if you can. The biggest casualty for us, the Democrats, it's their brand. We get this. It's screwed forever. They are now the man, okay? The biggest casualty for us, and this is important, is faith in government is destroyed. Well, Dan, I never had faith in government. Well, we kind of did, folks. No, not government like welfare programs and that. No conservative ever had faith in bureaucrats and government do anything like that. But in chat, if you disagree with me, tell me. We always had faith in things like the military, years ago, faith in, police officers and federal agents. Faith in that is being destroyed every day by the left with this DIE stuff and the military, weaponizing police departments and law enforcement during COVID, the FBI being used as a spy entity. This is the biggest casualty for us. This is an enormous thing. This may explain yesterday why that Haspel timeline in my head got tied in with Christopher Wray. Folks, Gina Haspel at the CIA, the story I told you yesterday, who apparently knows where this binder of documents that has the entire Rosetta Stone, it has everything that's supposed to tell the real story of the Brennan-led spy operation from the CIA on Donald Trump.
The MacGuffin.
I should have asked this question yesterday, and I'm asking your forgiveness. I withheld something. I shouldn't have done it. It was on my mind if I should say it or not. And it's not for the reasons you think. Someone texted me after yesterday's show, and then I realized it's time to go with this. Folks, we had a Donald Trump appointee in charge of the CIA for a long time after Donald Trump was in office.
Hold the least amount of
I should look like he fresh off goddamn plane.
goes up and millions of dollars come into the Biden's pockets. Joe Biden is the family's closer. How could he not be? The Bidens aren't doing any.
I think that the real ignorance is that people don't realize the value and the worth of their vote. And that's one of the things that I'm really, really understanding this election, these past few elections, is that it really shouldn't be like, I'm for Kamala, or I'm for Trump. It should be you're for what you want. You should be for what you and your family need. You should be for what you think the country needs. And then you should pick who aligns with it. So the fact that people are more passionate about saying that they're for Kamala or for Trump for that matter and have no substance of why, that's ignorant. What I have come across this go round is, unfortunately, the people who have said they support Kamala, that's all they can say. That's ignorant. And I don't get what's wrong with backpedaling and saying, let me figure out what makes the most sense for me. And then if it's Kamala, cool. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that because you might find that you don't want to vote for her. You might find that you don't want to roll with this party or that party. You might find that you've been in the...
That's not it. That's not why. I don't think it has anything to do. I think it has something to do with the fact that they don't want to be looked at as the outcast. They don't want to be looked at as the bad guy.
Oh, I definitely think I definitely think that could be, that is a part of it as well. I definitely think so. And I'll do you one better. I was thinking that the other day when RFK said that he was going to be with Donald Trump, which I'm so happy about. That helped my decision so much. Oh my God.
I know.
Anyway, I was so excited.
I already knew.
So when I saw the clip of RFK at the Trump rally, and at the end he said, let's make America healthy again. So I was like, I'm gonna post that on my Facebook page and I'm gonna say, let's make America healthy again. And it took me a good 10 minutes to give myself permission to do it, because I was like, what if somebody says something? What if somebody says something? I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting here saying this to myself. So I believe you. I believe it.
We are more.
And no Trump supporter has ever adequately answered when and how was America more healthy in the past, especially for our people.
That's a RFK slogan. That has nothing to do with Trump.
RFK.
Do you know who RFK is?
Do you know who he is?
RFK is that a
RFK?
Ronald Reagan, right?
What?
No, Kennedy. K is Kennedy. Robert Kennedy. Yeah. He's the third
Robert Kennedy Jr.'s son. I mean, Robert Kennedy.
I know a little bit here and there. But I gotta do my research.
You can tell.
Amen.
It's Cambridge.
Got a good percentage of the vote until Biden dropped out, and then his campaign just tanked, kind of.
But let's let the grown folks talk for a second. When we start talking about having sex and stuff, y'all, we'll let the room 9 kids back in. So here's the thing, though. I think that. I'm sorry.
She was saying she recently put that in her status to make America healthy again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
RFK said that. RFK said that, and she resonates with RFK. If you know who RFK is, if you know who the Kennedys are, you know that's why she said when he said that, it helped her to make her decision, because if you know who the Kennedys were, they were quite qualified in these positions. But I would just like to say, Trigger, you're the very reason why I feel, and it's no shade to you, I like you as a human, but I really do think that you are just under the indoctrination.
What kind of human?
She's just don't ask me that.
NCLB.
No. What I'm saying is that the Democrats have a way of playing on our emotions, right? They know how to get us really riled up to make a decision. They're either they know that our hate for Trump is so great that it's enough to give them the vote without us asking any questions. And that's very, very dangerous. So while we're so much like, I'm just voting for Kamala because we don't like Trump, do we really know? They just asked you, what is it about Kamala that deserves your vote? You couldn't answer it. That's dangerous, babe. You got to know who you're voting for and why. And unfortunately, Kamala doesn't have a really good track record. She can't really be trusted. She has done a lot of egregious things, specifically within our community, that makes a lot of Black people say, I don't know about that one. Not to say that Trump is a better option. I think both sides are questionable. I think we should be asking very extensive questions on both sides. We should be asking, what are the tangibles that they are planning to give out in exchange for our vote? But like every 4 years, when I sat here and watched the DNC, what I noticed was that they kept running. I noticed two things. I noticed every speaker had to trash talk Trump. And for me, it felt like dirty macking, right? Why do you have to do all of this trash talking to somebody else to convince me about what you're doing? For me, that's a little shady. The second thing that I noticed is they kept driving this whole idea of hope this and hope that. Wasn't that Obama's whole campaign, right? So are you telling me since we got Obama in office and we hoped and we prayed and we did this, we're back at square one? What happened in between all this time? And why are we still hoping and praying just because what?
The RNC?
She's a woman. What I'm saying is, no, huh? What?
Did you watch the RNC?
I'm sorry?
Did you watch the RNC?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I actually did not.
You didn't? Okay.
Why'd you ask that?
Well,
why'd you ask
you
that?
said there was a lot of bashing of Trump. It was no direct bashing of Trump, maybe talking about his policies and what he does and him as a person in an indirect way. But no one was doing name calling or anything like that. And these are common things that Trump does. common things.
No, no. That's all fine. But what I'm saying during the DNC, I don't need you to be cracking jokes, dragging Trump. I need to hear policy. I need to hear clear and direct communication on why you need my vote. And what I'm saying is that when I watched the DNC, it was like I saw actors, I saw entertainers. It was all, oh my God, look who's here. And
if you look it up, first day of the DNC, they mentioned Trump's name 147 times.
I'm telling you, and I watched the entire thing. And
I wonder how many times they mentioned Kamala.
Well, you just lied. You just lied and said they didn't do it.
The point is this. It
wasn't like Trump do it. I'm saying if you're gonna compare name calling and talking about the other party, it's a lot worse on the RNC side than it was on the DNC side.
Okay, and granted,
lie.
And you know what? And you're right. And you're absolutely right.
No, she's absolutely
Neither
wrong.
party should have to bash each other to convince the people for the vote. And that's why I say both parties are very questionable. Excuse me. We should be asking questions, but we should not be fear-based in our decision making, because then we're going to be voting for something and it's like a sheep's in wolf's clothing. Do we really know who we're trying to, take this seat? Do we really know? And you don't, Trigger. And that's really nerve-wracking, because you're all for Kamala, but you couldn't even answer why you felt like she deserved your vote. And then you also couldn't, you said, because I think it was Toya who said, why couldn't she do such and such when she was in that position? And you said she's just the VP. Well, there were a lot of policies passed, during her reign for specifically other marginalized groups in America specifically, right? If she can't do anything as a VP, how is she able to do those things, right? And if they can't do anything, what can they do, right? So again, why does she deserve our vote? Let us know,
policies
what
that the president was putting forth, which all VPs do.
You don't really have.
You said the policy did what?
At this point, you're just being ignorant.
Vote for who you think works best for you, but I just think that's my point. And even speaking on this, because I'm kind of drained of this political things, but we cannot be fear-based in our decision making at all. We have to do the research. You need to know who she is, what her track record is and was, what she actually stands for, before you just say, I'm gonna give her my vote, because that's going to keep us in the same position we've been in. If you haven't noticed, why is it that hope and keeping hope alive was the same campaign for Obama's campaign, and was saying the same shit in 2024? What really has changed? Why are we still hoping?
Just that single part real fast. I did watch the DNC as well. And actually, hope was not brought up until Michelle and Obama start to speak. So, of course, they're going to refer back to their term when they're talking themselves and putting their support behind Kamala. They're like, oh, well, this is reminiscent of hope, like when we were running. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. They weren't saying hope the entire DNC. They didn't say hope until the people who had the slogan of hope got up to talk.
So how do you feel about Michelle Obama's speech? Like, what did you feel about that?
It was amazing.
How do you feel about her preaching that her mom was like, she looks down on people that take more than they need? How do you feel about that? Like her morals, like she thinks it's wrong. Her and her parents, they think it's horrible that people
take more than what you need.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I support that.
She has 4 houses.
Yeah. So when you become a millionaire, you're
she's a hypocrite. That's what she was preaching about, is people taking more than they can need. And her shit was like low-key racist too. No, you didn't listen?
In other words,
we don't get second chances. We don't get an elevator to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, because those are things that Trump gets, because guess what? He was born with a
so it's racist. You should have just said white people get.
him a small loan of $1 million to start his business or whatever it was. More than most of us will ever have access to immediately from our parents, especially as Black people.
So let me ask you a question, because the Obama's children are the beneficiaries of their greatness. Their children has gone to the best schools that your children will never have access to. And they should. They should be blessed and they should be the beneficiaries of their parents' greatness. 100%.
Absolutely.
Does that make you any less of a patriot? Because we all want our children to be better off than we are. We don't want our children to grow up the way we grew up. Even if we grew up in a decent household, we want our children to be better off than us. How is that a knock against you, or is that actually a blessing? Is that a benefit to say that you were raised in a strong household? And I'm not knocking anybody that wasn't, but then still overcame and became successful as a result of it. But how is that a knock on somebody because they were blessed with decent parents that ultimately gave them the best opportunities?
In these conversations, I like to ask, you guys know what nuance is?
She tried to go somewhere.
Do you?
No,
That's probably a better question.
So,
let me just say this. I was a lifetime C student. I was a lifetime C student, but I went to regular school. Like, I was in a regular kid class.
So the point I'm making is when she says she doesn't like to take more than what they need, she's probably not talking about when you build your wealth and you buy what you want. She's more talking about people who are greedy, so then they take food out of people who are lower than them, or people who have businesses and they decide to pay their workers minimum wage and they're millionaires, not caring that they can barely feed themselves. Somebody who is greedy, not somebody who is buying what they can with the wealth that they have. I'm not even saying Trump is bad for being born into men. Absolutely not. But when you sit there and you have this type of confidence, this type of arrogance to look down on others who did not have the same opportunities, you know, it's hypocritical on your part, because you didn't have to fight as hard as other people because you already had it given to you. You're not bad for already having given it to you, but you're bad for putting any type of judgment on anybody else who did not have that same opportunity, because for many people, especially people of our race, it was impossible for us to have that type of wealth to start off with. So you look down on anybody because even though you have it, so it's like it's more of a complex discussion of what she was having. She wasn't just saying that, oh, he's a bad person because he's rich. It's more than that, and that's what nuance means. What's behind those words and the full meaning of it.
Yeah, what was behind her words was an attempt to pull. What was behind her words was her attempt to pull at people's heartstrings and to play into this whole notion of the middle class and the lower class, and to talk to people as if they can never elevate. So they have to be in this poverty poor mindset, because Michelle Obama, she's worth how much? $70 million. She's not. She's not worth.
Yeah,
whatever. She's not. And here's the other thing. How do you? Why are you saying that Trump looks down on people? I'm just curious. I'm not saying if he does or doesn't. I'm not saying if he.
People.
But
all of these single baby mamas that's out here still thinking that they need a step crash dummy. Listen, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a single baby mama.
Yes, you are.
No,
but yes, you do.
Because there's context.
Too much ignorance there. Too much ignorance there.
Man, you ain't heard this, have you?
Good afternoon.
Too much ignorance there.
My value around what we need to do to secure our border. That value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding illegal passage of guns and human beings across our border.
Now, she said that shit knowing that you're not going to look into it, but look into it. It's a lie.
So, it's been 39 days since Joe Biden dropped out and endorsed Kamala Harris.
She just lied.
When we get this done together, my friend, and when I am president, I will take on the bad actors who exploit a crisis.
To start off this absolute disaster of an interview, Dana Bash asked an important question for anyone running for president, which is, what would you do on day one? The only thing is that this question is significantly less prevalent when the person you're interviewing was just in the White House for the last 3.5 years.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
What is she talking about with a new way forward? You're in office right now. Like, you want to strengthen the middle class? The middle class is getting destroyed by you right now. Just look at some of these numbers. Gasoline up 51%, car insurance up 54%, groceries 22%, rent up 22%. Anyway, continue.
I think sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an enviment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
She has no proof of that.
Really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
Our country regrettably did turn the page on that, and we got left with someone who was so unwell they had to resign the presidency over to someone who had to drop out before Iowa because she was so disliked.
What would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my...
Oh yeah, so Kamala just straight up didn't answer the question, so Dana had to kind of do her job and say, yeah, but what about what would you do on day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
What proposals?
Which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib.
So pathetic. They can't
There's
buy
the work
a car
that we're
seat
going to do
at
that
Walmart.
is about investing in
They are
the
so bad,
American
they can't buy
family around affordable
car
housing, a
seat
big issue in our
at
country
Walmart.
right now.
Guys, when she wants to invest in affordable housing, know that she's referring to radical policies like giving first-time home buyers $25,000 for their down payment. That
What
will
about
just make the
existing home
price of
buyers? How
every
you gonna
home go
help
up
them out?
$25,000. She also wants to build 3 million homes that are sponsored by the state. So she could learn how to do that from Kim Jong-un, considering that they are great allies after all.
So the United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit's one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
Tim Walz will become increasingly useless as this interview goes on. Just know that right there, that was his peak.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
I had to check my pulse after that question because I thought I literally died because CNN actually asked a question to a Democrat politician. Let's just see how Kamala dodges it, though.
She dodges it well.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost.
They created the pandemic.
I mean, literally, we were all
to
tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID.
Created the pandemic.
The economy had crashed.
Call themselves fixing
in large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%.
They created.
Our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
Kamala, why are you flexing your inflation rates? That's one of your weakest points for anyone who has internet access. You just Google Kamala inflation versus Trump inflation and you get this. Average inflation rate under Trump, 1.9%. Average inflation rate under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, 5.7%. I would suggest never bringing up inflation if you want to win this election. Actually, you know what? Talk about it.
But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
All I heard was that's why I'm implementing a system called communism. Grocery stores are operating on razor-thin profit margins right now because our economy is inside a dumpster, which is inside of another dumpster. I assure you, forcing Kroger to reduce the price of eggs is not going to fix the economy.
What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families.
You know what? Even better. If you want to afford eggs, just have another kid.
She's right. I had my second kid just for the vacation.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Kamala's like, oh, so you really are going to interview me.
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors.
Wrong. Trump did that. This is yet another policy that was copied by you. This is nothing original, and all the groundwork was laid by your predecessor.
Will cap cost at just $35 a month per type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. So for everybody who's getting ripped off and paying tremendous prices, senior citizens, is a tremendous saving.
It is President Biden and I that took on Big Pharma and finally capped the cost of insulin for our seniors at $35 a month. But Donald Trump and his running mate intend to get rid of our $35 cap on insulin.
Here you're about to see CNN doing what journalists do, which again had me in shock. This is tremendously good news for not just Republicans, but for the country. If the media becomes honest again, that would truly be wonderful. Take a look.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign.
Again, you see her being like, oh man, I should not have done this interview.
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
Kamala Harris, in theory, had 40 days to prepare for this interview. And that's why this is my favorite part, because you know eventually someone has to ask her about immigration. Take a look.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say,
oh my God, I'm sorry. Immigrants from that region has actually reduced.
They come about.
I hope I don't need to get my ears checked, because here is a graph of illegal immigration during Trump's term versus Kamala as VP. Please do not let this woman fool you that migration is in any way under control in the slightest. Horrible migrant crime is taking place right now, like in Aurora, Colorado, where they took over an apartment complex. This is a crisis, and statements like this are just blatant lies.
Joe Biden and I, and our administration, worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believed that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concerns and the pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about... Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Oh, baby, I got a lot to say about that. First of all, the bill was brought up 3.5 years into your term, so what on earth were you doing that entire time? Secondly, that bill was filled with non-border related issues, including $60 billion to support Ukraine in its fight against Russia. It's roughly 3 times more than what the border security would receive.
That's why I got
and $10 million in humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza and the West Bank, Ukraine, and other populations caught in conflict zones across the globe. Thirdly, I want to congratulate you for even attempting to blame Trump for the border. That could not have been easy. He had the toughest border in modern American history, but you managed to blame him anyway. So for that, I say that's impressive. Go on.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there's once we have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
You absolutely and fundamentally do not recognize the problem. You call the problem not a problem by saying, quote, an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, why are you giving her a multiple choice question? Ask the question and wait for an answer. The American people are trying to figure out if Joe Biden gave her whatever he has. We can't afford for you to give her 3 ways out of a question.
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I've worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
Kamala holds herself to deadlines around time? What the fuck else would a deadline be around? The definition of a deadline is the latest time or date by which something should be completed. Kamala probably gave that answer after 30 minutes of word salad, and they just had to get the interview done before her next rally.
My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
Okay, the Trump campaign will now play any clip of Kamala Harris saying something absolutely ridiculous, which happens every day, and just follow it up with, my values haven't changed. Not deporting criminals who assault police officers on camera? Don't worry, her values haven't changed. With Kamala Harris as the border czar, the US government spent $150 billion on the migrant crisis, but rest assured, her values haven't changed.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump. I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Next question.
Any
same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
Didn't answer the question.
Okay.
CNN really dialed back the journalism here. Was that even a question? I mean, you've got the Democratic nominee for president in front of you, and you say that. I guess I got my hopes up too quickly about CNN.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you.
Walz is like, yes, I'm still here. I like how Dana is talking to him like he's 5 years old, too, although I don't blame her because he's got the integrity of a 5-year-old.
I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor.
Look at Kamala watching him dodge this question like, good job, Tim, just like we rehearsed. This is honestly so pathetic. Anyway, let's continue.
My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again,
your grammar is not always correct? Governor Walz, that was a lot more than a slip up of grammar. Here's the original clip, guys.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Tim Walz is guilty of stolen valor.
If it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I changed my mind, actually. This upcoming clip is my favorite because it has to do with Biden, and I'm going to miss that guy. He was the worst president of all time, but you got to admit he made us laugh. Here's Kamala about Joe Biden's mental acuity.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about people. He is so smart and
then why is he still running?
And loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word: I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping.
The American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page.
Again, a new way forward from the vice president of the current administration is a testament to how little Kamala Harris thinks of you. Lastly, we have new information about the call that Biden gave to Kamala to tell her he was dropping out. Keep in mind, Biden dropped out by putting out a tweet, but he was well enough to call Kamala Harris. Let me know if this sounds like the most staged story you've ever heard.
What was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
Because you knew you was getting ready to get the call.
And we had just had pancakes, and Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down
she can afford
do a puzzle.
bacon.
And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?"
Liar.
And he said yes. And
that was that.
And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him.
And with that steaming pile of BS that Kamala Harris's first thought was about Biden, I leave you with one thing, which is that CNN will not release the full transcript of that interview. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, this was the Nate Friedman Show. If you want to see me question migrants on the streets of New York City, just click this video and I'll see you there.
Such bullshit last night. I hope a lot of you guys learn y'all lesson. That woman won't give us the time of day. I thought 50 Gang was gonna call me back, but I don't know what happened to what happened to you.
Thank you for calling. Check out MT Phone. Please hold while I try to connect you.
Hello? Hey, I was waiting on you to call back because I picked up and it hung up. And I'm staring at the phone thinking you're just calling right back.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to disturb you while you was at the house.
No, I called you once I got back and I couldn't get through. And then you called and then I answered and it hung up.
Oh, a patient had came up, so I had to hang up real quick. So I'm going to call you right back, okay? I'm in the middle of a training. We got a new doctor, so a new system.
Okay.
I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Okay, babe. Love you.
Yeah. Well, I guess you'll call me back, guys. Well, we finally made it to Loganville. This is your boy, Doug 60 Gang. Thanks for joining me for the ride from Gainesville to Loganville. I don't know, maybe we'll do something tomorrow, maybe not. I'm not sure. It is the Labor Day weekend, so who knows? Maybe we'll see you, maybe we won't. We're out. It just left, and almost